The test line came up fast. Pink and decisive, like it had been waiting for me to stop pretending. I set the stick on the edge of the sink and watched condensation creep toward the word pregnant as if moisture could blur reality. My phone buzzed on the counter, nudging against a folded hoodie like a dog that wants to go out. It was from Caleb. How are you doing today? Do you want me to bring soup after work? 2 weeks earlier, I'd told him I needed time to heal. I set it at our kitchen table with the good napkins out because I thought props might make the script land gentler. We'd been arguing about the future in loops. He wanted a timeline, I wanted to feel my way. He wanted to look at places to buy in a year, I wanted to keep the lease a little longer and see if my career finally clicked. He wanted to put money into a joint savings account, I wanted to take a solo trip and remember who I was before we were in US. It wasn't dramatic, it was the slow disagreement of adults who both think they're reasonable. I'm not breaking up, I told him. I just need a pause. Space to breathe. Time to heal from everything. Everything was a shapeless pile of reasons: my layoff last winter, my mother's surgery, the way I sometimes lie awake and count the ways ordinary life can become a trap if you don't watch it. Caleb listened like he always does, elbows on the table, hands folded like he was holding a fragile thing he was determined not to crush. Okay, he said finally. If this is what you need, I'll respect it. What does space look like? Are we exclusive? Are we talking every day? A timeline would help me be good at this. I should have said, I don't want to date anyone. I should have said, 2 months, therapy, then we check in. I should have made the kind of hard, boring promises that keep your life from sliding off the counter. Instead, I said, let's just not define it. Defining is what I'm trying to step away from. He nodded, even though the vagueness made his jaw tense for a second. Then here are my boundaries, he said, voice steady. I won't contact you unless you reach out first. I won't show up places you'll be. If you need help with anything practical, ask. If you decide to see other people, please tell me before I hear it from anyone else. I won't hold you hostage. I just won't be a placeholder either. He was so decent about it, so plain. I cried, and he wiped my tears with a dish towel because paper ones shred under real water. The high school reunion invite arrived like a dare. 10 years. A hotel ballroom with chandeliers that looked nicer on Instagram. A group chat full of people who used to know me when my problems were midterms and JV tryouts. I told myself I'd go for the nostalgia, the cheap wine, the comfort of being a version of myself who didn't have to make mortgage decisions or articulate why I couldn't breathe. I wore the blue dress Caleb always said made me look like a sealed envelope. Crisp, important, a little too formal. At the ballroom, the DJ played songs from the yearbook and the cheer captains looked exactly like you'd expect, successful, sun-kissed, already slightly drunk. I found the cluster of people I used to eat curly fries with and pretended we were still those kids, laughing in a circle like a campfire. He showed up at the bar beside me like a memory asked to sit down. Jake Reed. Former wide receiver, current gym owner in a strip mall. If the rumors were true, grin like a light switch. We barely knew each other in high school. Different crowds. But nostalgia smooths gaps like a good filter. Look at you, he said, and it's ridiculous how far those 3 words can go when you're trying not to feel like a mess. We talked for an hour like a montage. Where do you live? What do you do? Wow, that teacher was actually a villain. Remember the vending machine that ate quarters? He said he always had a crush on me back then and I laughed because that's how grown women avoid the second thing they want to hear. We took a photo with a cardboard cutout of our old mascot and the flash made me feel 21. He asked if I wanted to get out of there and it should have been the easiest no in the world. I had told a good man I needed time to heal. I was supposed to be drinking sparkling water and remembering how to breathe. Yes, I said, like a person who can't hear herself. His car smelled like spearmint gum and ambition. We went to his apartment over a Thai place, and I told myself it wasn't cheating because I'd said the word space out loud to someone who loved me. I told myself I was an adult and adults are allowed to experiment with their own lives. I told myself I needed to feel something that wasn't responsible. We used protection. I remember that because I clung to it later like a receipt I could wave in the air to prove I hadn't been reckless, just unlucky. He fell asleep fast. I didn't sleep at all. At 5 a.m., I texted a ride and left him a note that said, "Had fun, be well," because I'm polite even when I'm a disaster. The test was positive 3 weeks later. I took 2 more because hope is stubborn and cheap. All 3 lined up on the sink like soldiers. I texted Jake. "We need to talk. It might be important." He replied 4 hours later, "I'm at work." "What's up?" I typed and deleted 3 drafts, then wrote the least dramatic sentence I could, "I'm pregnant." "I think it's yours." The delivered turned to read, then to nothing for a full minute, then, "Wow. Are you sure?" The kind of question that is both reasonable and cruel. I took a breath and typed back, 3 tests. "I'll confirm with a doctor. I wanted to tell you directly. I'm not asking for anything right now. I just thought you should know." He didn't respond that night. Or the next day. 2 days later he asked if we could talk in person. I said yes and then immediately wished I'd said no. Caleb texted about soup while I was Googling OB clinics that take new patients. I stared at his name like it was a living thing. He had respected my space. He had not called me at midnight. He had not shown up anywhere I was. He had given me the precise courtesy I asked for. I called him. He picked up on the second ring. "Hey," he said, warm but careful, the way you talk to someone whose house you used to live in. "Are you okay?" "No," I said. "I mean, yes, physically. But I need. Can you come over?" He was there in 20 minutes. He brought soup. He took one look at my face and set the bag down like it might break. I handed him the test. He looked at it too long and then exactly long enough. "Is it mine?" he asked, not because he forgot math, but because good men don't assume. I told him about the reunion and the bar and the Thai place and the condom and the note. I did not try to make it pretty. I did not say mistake like a spell. I told the whole thing the way a person admits they are the reason the fire alarm went off. He nodded. Twice. Then he exhaled slowly and sat down at the table where I'd asked for time. "Okay," he said. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a yellow legal pad because Caleb is allergic to chaos. "This is what I can offer that is decent." I started crying before he even said the words because yellow legal pads mean endings in our house. "I will drive you to your first appointment if you want someone there," he said. "I won't go in unless you ask. I will help you make a list of questions if your brain goes blank. I will cook if you can't smell oil without puking. I will not be your boyfriend while you decide what you want to do. I will not co-parent. I will not be on any forms. I will not be in the delivery room. I will not be on the birth certificate. This is not punishment. It's clarity. You told me you needed space and then you used it to build a future that doesn't include me. I don't know what I'm going to do, I whispered. It felt like a confession and a weather report. You don't have to know tonight, he said. But there are timelines. Medical ones, legal ones. If you choose to continue, you should know the practical stuff. The hospital will ask for an acknowledgement of paternity if the father is present. That's between you and him. If he doesn't sign, paternity can be established after birth with a test and a court order. Child support is the biological father's responsibility, not your boyfriend's. I am not the biological father. I won't be the boyfriend, either. He wasn't being cold. He was being the kind of adult who pays bills on time and reads forms start to finish. He was being the man I said I needed when I was 26 and tired of boys who called their moms to ask how to cook rice. I'm not angry, he said finally. I'm sad in a way that's going to sit with me for a while. But I won't make a mess for you to mop up while you're nauseous. I'll pack my things this weekend. I'll pay my half of the lease break. I'll move in with my brother for a while. If you ever need a ride to the ER, I will come. If you need me to make you soup, I will make it. If you want me to sit on the couch and be quiet while you cry, I'll do that exactly once. After that, we're done. He stood up like a person who just finished saying something that will matter to him later. He squeezed my shoulder, the way you squeeze someone before surgery, then went to the kitchen, labeled 2 boxes, Caleb. Books, and Caleb. Kitchen, and left the legal pad on the table with a short list of clinics circled. I met Jake 2 days later at a coffee shop where everyone knows how to use their inside voice. He wore a hoodie and guilt-like cologne. He said the words men say when they don't want to be villains. I didn't think. It's complicated. I want to do the right thing. I'm not ready to be a dad. He asked if I was sure again. He asked if I was seeing anyone else. I said no to the first question this time because there's a point at which reassurance becomes an insult and I had reached it. I'm not asking you to be with me, I said. I'm asking you to be honest about what you can handle. He said he could handle money, maybe, later. He said he could handle being around. He said a lot of things that sounded like promises but felt like fog. I made an appointment at a clinic. The doctor looked at the test and my face and gave me both compassion and a list of options, with timelines in bold because medicine doesn't care about your narrative arc. I took the transvaginal ultrasound I swore I didn't want and cried anyway when the screen showed a flicker that meant my life would be divided cleanly into before and after, no matter what I chose. I did not ask Caleb to come. He texted at noon, thinking of you. The soup is in the freezer with labels. You'll be okay, no matter what you choose. He was right and wrong in one sentence in a way that made me want to throw my phone and hug him at the same time. I chose to continue. The reasons would take 1,000 small paragraphs and none of them would satisfy anyone on the internet. It felt like walking into weather I didn't choose and opening an umbrella anyway. Jake came to the 12-week appointment and fainted at the blood draw, which would be funny if it weren't a metaphor. He rallied enough to ask the nurse about an acknowledgement of paternity. She told him we could sign it at the hospital or do DNA testing later if there was any doubt. There isn't, I said. His eyes slid away. Caleb moved out in a weekend that looked like a tutorial on how to end a life without breaking it. He cleaned the oven. He patched nail holes. He left the coffee grinder because I use it more and the Dutch oven because he hates the thought of it dying of neglect under someone else's sink. He put his key in an envelope with a line, "You deserve someone who wants the same shape of life as you. I deserve the same. Take care." He did not ask who was going to be in the delivery room. He did not come to my baby shower, which my sister hosted with sweet, chaotic optimism. He mailed a book with a note tucked inside that said, "For when you're too tired to Google every hour." Jake texted more in the third trimester than he did in the first. He came to 2 birthing classes and joked too loudly, and the instructor gave him the smile reserved for men who don't know they're not the main character. He held my hand during a contraction like it was theater and then quietly excused himself to answer a call from his gym manager about a clogged drain. I thought about Caleb taking calls from clients with a drop cloth over his shoulder and a pencil behind his ear and wanted to throw up for a reason that had nothing to do with hormones. The hospital asked about the birth certificate, like I knew they would. They asked if the father was present. Jake stood in the corner with his hands in his pockets. "You can sign the acknowledgement of paternity now," the nurse said, "or we can handle it later." "Later," he said, staring at a spot on the floor like it had answers. Later turned into a form from the office of the Attorney General 2 months after my daughter was born. DNA swabs. A court date. A support order that was less than people imagine and more than he wanted. The parenting plan said things like, "every other weekend," and "exchange at police station parking lot," which sounds dramatic but is simply a place with cameras and a bathroom. Caleb did not send flowers. He did not text congratulations. He did not hover. When I ran into him at the grocery store 6 months postpartum, he was with a woman whose face looked like sleep and a little boy in a dinosaur hoodie. He introduced us kindly and briefly. "This is Maya," he said. "We used to date." The little boy waved a plastic T-Rex and roared. Caleb laughed like a person who likes mornings. He asked how I was and I said, "Tired," and he said, "You're doing great," like a coach from a team I no longer play on. People ask if he won. They ask it like life is a scoreboard and I'm keeping it on a whiteboard in my kitchen. He won in the way that matters. He held his boundary and kept his kindness. He didn't become my villain to feel better about leaving. He didn't sign up for a job he didn't want out of guilt and then make me pay for it in 1,000 small resentments. He built the shape of life he said he wanted and stepped into it with someone who wanted it too. He chose peace over performance. Jake is better than he was at first and worse than I imagined. Some weekends he shows up on time with a bag of snacks and a car seat installed correctly. Some weekends he texts at 7 a.m. with an emergency at the gym that smells like excuses. We do the exchange in that police station lot and I send him a list of her current shoe size, the nightlight she prefers, the way she says noodles when she means any food at all. He says, "Got it," and sometimes he does. At night, when the apartment is finally quiet and my daughter's breaths are small waves against my chest, I think about the sentence I used like a permission slip, "I need time to heal." I turned it into a hallway without walls, then acted surprised when the wind knocked everything over. Caleb gave me exactly what I asked for. He refused to be the consequence for choices he didn't make, and he refused to be the consolation prize for a life I wasn't ready to commit to. He left with dignity and didn't look back to see if I was watching. I am healing now, for real, in the unglamorous way, budgeting with envelopes, buying diapers in bulk, learning to install a car seat without crying, accepting help without promising to pay it back in personality. I write things down so I won't forget. Immunization dates, court dates, the day my daughter laughed so hard at a dog on TV she hiccuped. Sometimes I bake on Sundays, just to make the apartment smell like a plan. I use the Dutch oven. The lattice still isn't perfect. I don't send Caleb pictures. He doesn't need to see that I finally learned how to choose and live with it. He already knows what it looks like when a person tells the truth with their feet. He won by leaving clean. I'm learning by staying. That's the story. It's not cinematic. It's honest. And it's enough.